Well, hello, DirtFish friends, and good evening to our end of day one summary at the Monte Carlo Rally. I'm Colin Clark. Joining me this evening is ace co-driver Seb Marshall. Seb, great to see you here at the Monte Carlo Rally. We'd rather see you in overalls, though. Tell us what the situation is with yourself right now.
Yeah, so obviously here this weekend in tourist mode, essentially. Just catching up with some friends and old colleagues, and yeah, obviously not, as you say, in overalls and competing in a car this weekend. But no, it's great just to be here, soak it up from the other side of the fence, and yeah, hopefully see if there's any opportunities going forward.
Well, bringing your consummate knowledge of this event to the media side of things, which is great. We're absolutely delighted to have Seb with us this evening. Seb, we've had 4 stages today. We've had 6 stages today. We had 2 stages yesterday evening, and my goodness me, it has been a dramatic 8 or so stages here at the Monte Carlo Rally. Where do we start? Let's start with Ott Tänak, our world champion. It was stage 4. Now, we've all seen the footage, and it is terrifying. What did you make of that off?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I was watching it live on the TV earlier, and it's one of those heart in the mouth moments. When you see that and realise, gosh, this is a bad accident, and just the duration of it. You know, it seemed to go on and on and on, reminiscent of quite a few nasty accidents in the past. And I think, okay, the first and foremost, the most important thing was we saw that they were okay. They were climbing out of the car, and that, you know, from whether you're a fan or not of the sport, that's the key thing. That, you know, the guys are all right. After that, obviously, it started to emerge some of these other videos, which the onboard's one thing, but seeing the car from outside, it's, yeah, I mean.
Do you know what? You know, we were watching those videos knowing that the boys were more or less okay, and they still terrified you. You still had the heart in the mouth knowing they were okay. You've got to say, Seb, that, you know, you've been in a car, you've been in those situations before. What an incredible job the FIA and the teams have done over the past decade in improving cockpit safety in those cars.
Completely, you know, I mean, it's testament to the car. You know, the designers and engineers have done a huge amount of work, like you say, in collaboration with the FIA to make sure that the safety cell of the car is the critical element. And of course, it's not just the roll cage and the body shell. It's the seats, it's the hands device, the helmets. There's been so much development over the last 10, 15 years that ultimately, you know, as the speeds have increased with these fantastic cars, so has the safety, which is absolutely the right thing, and thankfully we were able to see the result of that hard work today.
Well, it really was an absolute relief to see them getting out of the car. They are spending the night in the hospital, but that is more or less procedure these days with the FIA. Now, we go from one of the most terrifying crashes we've seen in a very long time to one of the most ridiculous. Gus Greensmith. We're going to start with the bad points of the day before we get on to what have been some quite incredible moments out there. Gus Greensmith's off. The highest speed off, 6th gear for Tänak, the lowest speed off I have ever seen for Greensmith. How would you feel as a driver in that circumstance?
Oh, it's hard to watch, actually. It's almost as hard to watch as Tänak's off, really.
I'm not laughing, Gus, if you're watching this, I'm not laughing at you, but it was comical. If it wasn't so serious, it would be comical.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount of sympathy there, because, I mean, it's so easy for us to think, oh, what are you doing? No. But ultimately, the way that corner was, with the camber on the road, the completely full polished ice, let's not forget, Gus wasn't alone in having issues on this corner. Many of the other leading drivers in WRC, plenty of the guys in WRC 2 and 3 also had a problem there. It's just, unfortunately, Gus was the one that really took the worst of it. And yeah, I mean, I think when you're in that moment, he obviously floored the throttle thinking, I can get out of this.
I've got enough space. I know I don't.
And it's... And I can tell you now, it was a slow speed thing. It was happening slowly on the video. It will have felt like slow motion in the car. It will be, yeah. He'll really probably, not rightly, but he'll probably beat himself up about that.
Oh, he probably will, but you know, these things happen, and this is part of the learning process for Greensmith. Greensmith has got speed, he's got talent, he's got ability, he has potential, and I'm sure it all come together for him. But let's talk about our leaderboard at the end of stage 8. Well, it's a fairly familiar name at the top of the leaderboard, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Ogier leads, but my goodness me, he's had to fight, he's had to battle, he's had to use all his experience out there to lead this event at the end of the, what are we, Friday evening now.
Absolutely. I mean, let's not forget, you know, he's in the lead, but it's only by 1.2 seconds. Up until the penultimate stage of the day, his teammate Elfyn Evans was in the lead, and I mean, I think a lot of it is expected Elfyn to have good pace here, but not many would have suggested he would be beating his teammate in his own backyard. You know, Sébastien Ogier is a 6-time winner of this event. Seven.
Never say 6 to him. He'll tell you, he'll put you right. It is 7 times.
I sit corrected. 7 times. Let's not forget as well, 7 times with 4 different manufacturers, which is an incredible statistic. So for Elfyn to have been putting in that performance, arguably for me, he's the driver of the day.
No, I totally agree with that. I think what's encouraging from Evans' point of view is how quickly he has adapted to that car, how comfortable he feels in that car. You might argue Corsica, I think last year was the best rally of his life. This is one of his best days, certainly his best day in Monte Carlo, without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, you can't deny that he's making his mark known already. I mean, obviously, it's the first time he's driven in a car that's not a Ford Fiesta, whether it's a WRC car or an R2 car. So it's a whole new environment, it's a whole new car to learn, and which, in fairness, other drivers are in the same scenario. But I think for Elfyn, it's a real statement of intent.
Do you know what? I think there were more question marks over Elfyn's move than just about anyone else's moves. There was pressure on him. You know, there were a lot of very good drivers who thought they had a real chance of getting that seat. There was pressure on him to perform, and he has performed superbly today. Let's hope it continues tomorrow. What a day it's been for Toyota while we're talking about Toyota. Obviously, Ogier has been imperious. Elfyn Evans, near enough one of his best days in a rally car. Kalle Rovanperä, my goodness me, his pace out there today, Seb, has been really quite breathtaking at times for someone who's making their debut in a World Rally car.
It has, and I think the thing that that's really struck me the most, and I think we're probably going to be saying this a lot throughout the year, is I'm so impressed with his maturity. We know he's precociously talented. We saw it in WRC2 when he was in the Skoda. He can just set lightning fast times. Okay, he's taken the step up to WRC. It's a huge one. But for me, the thing that's really impressed, he's been able to bang in those good stage times when the conditions have been consistent and dry, and he knows that what he can do with the car. But then as soon as he's come to the icy sections, he's realised that, okay, I've got next to zero experience here. Let's take it back a notch, get through, get the experience. It'd be so easy in these scenarios to think, oh, I was doing really well there. Let's push on, make a mistake, end up in the ditch, and you learn nothing. So it's the way that he's handled himself that's really impressive to me.
You know what, you've hit the nail on the head with that one. That is absolutely right. The speed's been impressive, but the style, his craft today, rally craft, he's shown for a young man, he has got proper rally craft. You know, you look back at some of the greats in rallying, certainly over the last decade or so, it took some of them, Tanak, it took him a long time to be a regular contender for even podiums, never mind wins. The same with Neuville, the same with Mikkelsen in his time, but you could argue Mikkelsen never quite got there as a regular winning contender. It's not going to take Rovanperä long. It didn't take Sébastien Ogier long, maybe 6 or 7 months. I can see a similar progression for young Rovanperä.
I think that's it, particularly when we come to those rallies later in the season, when he's much more settled and comfortable in the WRC car, and he's on the rallies that he's done before. He's got much more intimate knowledge of. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him trouble in the podium later on in the year.
Oh, it's exciting stuff, isn't it? Listen, you know, it is so exciting with these youngsters breaking through who are capable, really capable of setting times at the top of our rally timesheets. Now, let's talk a little bit about Hyundai. We've already touched on Ott Tanak clearly, and again, the good news is he's okay. That is fantastic. Thierry Neuville, an up and down day for him. So what a stage the first stage of the morning was for him. It was blinding. Set the most incredible time. He's there or thereabouts, and you cannot write off his chances. He is waiting, he is hovering, he is poised.
Like we said before, he's one of those guys. Thierry knows the team, he knows the car, he knows the rally. He's just very aware of when he can push and extract the maximum from that car, and when perhaps it's best just to be a little on the cautious side. He's had a few stages today where he said there wasn't quite enough there. But let's not forget, he's still within, I think it's 6 seconds of the lead of the rally. He'll be happy with that because, you know, tomorrow's stages provide a much bigger challenge and opportunity for him to leap back before. And let's not forget, he was leading Evans by 25 seconds overnight. Yeah. That flipped, and he's now behind him. But there's nothing to say that can't happen again tomorrow the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about tomorrow briefly. I know we've gone on a little bit, Sebsy, but there's so much to talk about today. Who had the great time in the first stage this morning? It was the stage last night That's Neuville. The one this morning was...
It was Evans this morning.
It was Evans this morning. You're absolutely right. Apologies for that. This is why we've got Sebs here, to keep me right. Let's talk about tomorrow and the challenge that lies ahead, and perhaps what we might see. There is still a massive way to go in this event, but what do we expect to see in terms of the conditions? What do we expect to see in terms of drivers perhaps doing well tomorrow?
So obviously only 4 stages tomorrow, 2 in the morning loop, 2 in the afternoon. They're only quite short as well, really, but that belies what the challenge that they have. On the recce, there was a lot of snow, a huge amount of snow. The first stage of the day is notorious for being, whatever the conditions, you'll have snow over the top of the col, and then the descent is very much in the trees, in the shade, always icy. That said, it's been very warm in Gap today. A lot of people are saying that on the lower slopes, it's probably melted, but that could give a headache with a tyre choice. Perhaps before, it was more clear-cut. You've got to take some studs for the snow and the ice. Now, half the stage, 2 the stage potentially is going to be dry. You still need some studded tyres for that forest section. And this is only stage 1.
Getting excited already, Seb. That is classic Monte, isn't it? That compromise. How much ice have we got? How much dry tarmac have we got? How much are we going to lose? How much are we going to gain? This is what makes it fascinating and absolutely compelling as an event.
Completely. I mean, we're at the end of day 1, end of Friday, but we're barely even halfway, and there's so much drama already. There's certainly a lot more for this Monte Carlo to unravel.
Well, that is the perfect point for us to wrap up our DirtFish end of day summary here with the wonderful Seb Marshall. Isn't he quality? He really is. Folks, thanks for joining us today. Don't forget all the news, photographs, videos from today's, tomorrow's, and the final day action from Rally Monte Carlo will be available for you on dirtfish.com. Folks, from us at the Hyundai Service Park in Monte Carlo, thank you very much indeed for joining us.